Shaukat Saab, this is testament to the interest in your presence here and this gem listing कि यहाँ पे there is no space to even put the papers. इतने mics और cameras हैं. Honorable Advisor to the Prime Minister on Finance and Revenue, Mr. Shaukat Tareem, Chairman SECP, CEO Pak Agro, and Fareed, and the Lead Manager AKD, investors, most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu Alaikum. I am really happy and excited to welcome everyone to this momentous occasion. Pak Agro Packaging Limited has become the very first growth company to list on PSX's GEM board. Welcome and congratulations to you. The GEM board is an important innovation in Pakistan's capital market, and I was talking to the SCP chair. It's been envisaged and planned for well over a decade, and this will support the financing needs of the hugely important and vibrant SME sector by enabling them to raise both debt and equity capital at a very low cost and with great ease from the capital markets. What is also important is that the new board will help in the full value chain of early stage financing. As you know, that has really taken off in Pakistan. And one of the biggest questions that we see that early stage investors have is how to exit. And now with the GEM board in place, they will have a viable exit opportunity down the line by listing on the GEM board. The importance in Pakistan's economy of SMEs cannot be overemphasized, and the GEM board will inshallah become an integral part of the ecosystem driving SMEs growth in Pakistan. Here I would like to acknowledge and the support and guidance of SECP in reaching this milestone in Pakistan's capital markets. Thank you. Shaukat Saab, the reform agenda being pursued by you, an independent and forward-looking SECP, strong PSX shareholders, technology and abundant local liquidity have created a unique opportunity, perhaps for the first time in 70 years, for our capital markets to break through and play their due role in Pakistan's economic growth. This requires all stakeholders to work in a supportive manner. We are fortunate that a former chairman of PSX is now the finance advisor. So this is indeed a unique opportunity for Pakistan's capital markets to grow. I would like to take this opportunity and focus on some key recommendations. You were at the CFA award ceremony recently. The poll there indicated that the two biggest obstacles to the growth of capital markets are: one, the tax incentives given to other asset classes, particularly real estate; two, the KYC required for investors in the stock market, but not when investing in other asset classes. Shaukat Saab, there is now a tax-driven distortion amongst returns in different asset classes, which is distorting the efficient allocation of resources which are very scarce in Pakistan. We would request that you please look into this and review this. As you know, the stock market is probably the most documented sector of the economy. Hence, growth in capital markets is fully aligned with your efforts to document the economy. We have challenges on both the demand and supply side in our market, and these have historically been there for the last 70 years. Firstly, we have worked very hard to reopen and start the IPO market and have had good success. So far, mashallah, in this fiscal year, we have had 4 main board IPOs and 2 GEM IPOs, and there is a robust pipeline for the balance of the year. We would strongly urge the FPR to restore the tax credit for newly listed companies. This has minimal revenue impact and will be in fact revenue positive in our view. This is even more important for smaller companies to list on the GEM board. One measure we would strongly recommend is that the tax status of SMEs be grandfathered at the time of their listing. This will encourage smaller companies to list, which will improve documentation of the SME sector, allowing financing from the banking sector and other avenues to flow there more easily. We would also request you to encourage government SOEs, PPP and other government brownfield projects to list. This will allow the government to release their equity and invest it in new projects. while growing the size of the market, which, as you know, is a key metric for being in the MSCI Emerging Markets Index. Thirdly, development of the debt markets is a key strategic priority for both PSX as well as for Pakistan's economy. Some key reforms have been undertaken, and a notable success was the PHL Sukuk issue. We would request the GOP to build upon this success and use the capital markets for further Sukuk and debt issues for itself as well as for GOP-controlled entities. For the last 4-5 years, the UINs, or the number of investors in the market, had actually been declining, which is quite shocking for a market at the stage of development that we are. I'm very happy to share with you that not only have we arrested the decline, but in the last 1 year, the number of UINs or investors has actually grown after a period of 4-5 years. So the direction of the graph has changed. We have made significant progress despite the challenging operating environment of COVID and lockdowns last year by introducing online account opening, closer collaboration between brokerage, housing and banking sector with initiatives like RDA, and these will be transformative in the next 2-3 years to help grow the investor base in Pakistan. We would request that you look at the reform of the national savings schemes and introduction of individual savings accounts that we had discussed with you at the time of the budget. Lastly, Shaukat Saab, as you know, tax measures have a direct impact and profound impact on the structure and functioning of the capital markets. There is constant innovation in capital markets which requires appropriate tax treatment. I met with the FPR chairman yesterday and he was extremely forthcoming, and we will continue to look for your support in our capital markets dealings with FPR. Shaukat Saab, on behalf of all the capital market stakeholders present here, I can commit that with your support, we will grow PSX to its rightful place as a leading regional market, playing its due role in Pakistan's economic growth. A legacy, inshallah, you will truly be proud of. To close, we are very happy that Pak Agro have utilized the GEM board to raise capital for diversifying the business and growth. We warmly welcome them to PSX and wish them much prosperity and growth as a listed company. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I will now request the Advisor to Prime Minister on Finance and Revenue, Mr. Shaukat Tareen, to please come to the podium and share his perspective on the first listing on the GEM board of PSX. Sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Chairman SCCP, Chairman Pakistan Stock Exchange, CEO Pakistan Stock Exchange, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It gives me great pleasure in being part of a momentous event today at the Gong ceremony of Pakistan Agro Packaging Limited, marking the first listing on the Growth Enterprise Market Board of the PSC. As we celebrate the first listing on the GEM board, I congratulate not only the management of Pak Agro Packaging Limited, but also the board members and management of Pakistan Stock Exchange and the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan, who have worked tirelessly in converting this dream into reality. SMEs play a very important role in the nation's development, acting as a source for employment creation and income generation. SMEs in Pakistan are playing an important role in the economic growth of the country, as statistics indicate that 3.3 million registered businesses in the SME sector play an important role in the country's economic revival and social development. SME play a vital role in reducing poverty and boosting GDP. Contribution of small and medium enterprises to Pakistan GDP stands at estimated 40%. And its share in non-agricultural labor force is around 80%. It is not a sector that can be ignored, and we want to develop our economy. Pakistan's SME sector has remained largely undocumented, but listings of SME can help ensure a significant portion of this informal sector becomes a part of the regulated and documented sector. Excuse me. Access to equity and debt financing has been recognized as a major obstacle in SME's growth and development because the SME sector is largely undocumented. Majority of the SMEs do not maintain a full and complete financial record that can be used by financial institutions to evaluate their creditworthiness. Lack of accurate and credible information on SMEs discourages financial institutions from lending to SMEs at favorable rates. To curb this information anomaly, I must commend our government's and SCCP's efforts to document our economy. SCCP in September 2021 alone registered 2,223 new companies, which was up by 20% over same period last year. With the availability of complete and accessible information, newly registered small and medium enterprises, startups, etc. will greatly benefit from the financial service to help them grow while contributing to the growth and development of our nation's economy simultaneously. To facilitate capital availability to SMEs, Pakistan Stock Exchange introduced this Growth Enterprise Market Board for such companies to list and raise capital that is low-cost capital and does not require debt servicing, which is a burden on companies. GEM board facilitates such companies which would otherwise have to obtain debt financing from banks and other financial institutions. Support and assistance from the SCCP to iron out regulations aim to encourage our SMEs to participate in getting listed. Accredited investors can invest in growth companies opting to raise capital by listing on the GEM board of Pakistan Stock Exchange. This shall help accredited investors in diversifying their investment portfolios and benefit from the growth potential of such companies. The first listing on the GEM board is a positive development, and I would recommend SMEs to come forward to avail this opportunity to raise capital through the securities exchange. Many export-oriented firms should avail these opportunities as they can better plan and expand effectively through equity financing at the PSX and enhance their operational capability, which will help increase our nation's exporting potential in times ahead. Now let me talk about some of the things which have been raised by Farooq Khan. Absolutely, I think tax incentives, we have to rationalize them. I think we have to make sure that, investment in this country just improves. And investment in this country in productive sectors. Well, I am not against, the real estate sector, and that obviously also has its own benefits to the economy, because as you know that, the housing sector, benefits around 40 industries, and also it creates a lot of employment. But, we have to make sure that, that those benefits are aligned with other sectors, productive sectors of the economy, and the capital is not diverted entirely to the real estate sector. And we also have seen in the past, and this is an important announcement I'm making, that people are just investing in land. They buy plots and they just lie there for years and years. and that is, productive capital sunk into dead assets. We will be coming up with some, some kind of taxes which will be applied on those dead assets, so that the money can be, recycled to the other sectors of the economy. When you talk about the SOEs, I absolutely agree with you. I think what we have been, seeing a phenomena, which is the circular debt phenomena, which has choked, some of our public sector companies, especially the energy, and we are in the process of unlocking that. So you will see that, the petroleum companies and some of the power companies, they will basically, who are listed, will suddenly see a lot of activity, and that is needed because, OGDC, trading 3.5 and dividend is 18% doesn't make sense. So I think we will be doing something over there, and that will help your stock exchange because they are heavyweights. You talked about development of debt market. Yes, of course. The debt market was supposed to be developed by companies like Pak Kuwait, Pak Oman, the joint investment companies, because they are AAA rated, and they had to go and just raise debt, in the market, and then of course some of them could have been, listed as well, but they have not, they've not been doing what they should have been doing, but we will be now making sure that we just get them in the right direction. But also the REITs, and we are encouraging REITs now, and there will be a lot of REITs. Why? Because this National Asset Management Authority, which has been formed and which is in the finance division now, we will be using REITs as a mechanism to unlock, the real estate potential of, assets in the public sector, and those will be listed. And as we list, those companies, I think the capitalization of stock exchange will just go up rapidly. I would also like to encourage you, the remarks you made about, expanding the investor base. 350,000, investors in such a large country doesn't make sense. So I think, I would encourage that you also look at, what happens in your environment. Why is that, people have no faith in, or not too many people have faith in stock exchange? I think this country should have millions of, investors in this stock market. I think that is a challenge for you. And as far as the Federal Board of Revenue is concerned, I can assure you that we'll give you all the support. I think, Farrakhan, you've been working very hard, I think, under the leadership of the SEC's chairman and the chairman of the stock exchange, Dr. Shamshad, but you will also see me standing with you, because I'm also the ex-chairman of the Karachi Stock Exchange. So I understand, your problems, and certainly understand the potential of capital markets, because the only formal capital, source of financing today are the banks, and we do not have very large kind of capital markets, and we need them. So you will have all the support. I once again congratulate all of you for this adventure, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to invite Chairman SECP, Mr. Amir Khan, to please come to the podium and present his views about the first listing on the GEM board.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Advisor to the Prime Minister, Shaukat Tareen Sahab, Chairperson, Pakistan Stock Exchange, and CEO PSX, and all the distinguished guests. Assalamu alaikum. I think it gives me extreme pleasure today to be speaking to you in the presence of the biggest, I would say, and the most passionate supporter of SMEs, the advisor sir. Ever since he's taken over, we've seen one step after another for the promotion of SMEs, and he's put his actions behind those beliefs. So we are really fortunate to have him among us today. I must start by congratulating Pak Agro Packaging Limited and PSX on this watershed moment. On this watershed moment, with the first ever listing of the growth enterprise market. I would also like to especially congratulate AKD Securities for being the pioneers and for having the honor of always being the first to bring an issue to the GEM board. I would also like to congratulate and appreciate Farooq Khan's leadership and your team's work in this regard, and also the excellent work done by my colleague Najia Obaid sitting right over there for the excellent work from SCCP's side to making this launch and this board possible. As you would most likely, SCCP has always been a strong proponent for the creation of an enabling ecosystem, especially the SMEs, to tap into the capital markets and have access to private capital in a cost-efficient and effective manner. And I strongly believe that the GEM board is the right framework which will facilitate small SMEs, startups, and greenfield companies in having access to the private capital. At SCCP, our foremost obligation remains towards effective enforcement, investor protection, and building a vibrant capital market that empowers business growth. In the last 2 years, SCCP has focused on responding to the economic and social development needs of the country, which has led us, firstly, to promoting ease of doing business by cutting down archaic layers, regulatory burden, and reducing the costs, consequently simplifying, 12 out of the 14 primary laws that we administer. And the changes were driven by a desire to, on one hand, empower the business growth and at the same time protect investors who participate in the capital markets. The second key area that we have focused on is trying to improve access to finance through fostering competition and reducing entry barriers to new market players, and also by launching the Secure Transaction Registry that has led to a spate of new IPOs, REIT schemes, housing finance companies, NBFCs, new company registration, and also registration of charges, over 100,000 charges on movable assets. The third piece that we have focused on is robust enforcement and investor protection. And for this regard, 2 dedicated divisions have been created in the last 2 years at the SCCP, and adjudication and supervision now are operating independently of each other. And the initial results in that regard are very, very encouraging. The overhaul of the IPO process was made with a view to make it swift and efficient, and also to use technology. And today, the IPO subscription process is almost digitalized end to end, and that has led in some cases to electronic applications exceeding 80% of the total issue. Moreover, in 2021, PSX has witnessed a record trading volume over the last 10 years. It has also seen the highest number in the last 10 years of IPOs, which is again 10. And the active number of investors have actually grown by almost 9% after years of remaining stagnant. These are very encouraging signs, but at the same time, I must also add that the impact of many other substantive initiatives, such as enabling special purpose acquisition companies, direct listing framework, simplification of securitization process, and numerous debt capital market initiatives are yet to kick in. The revamp of the REIT regulations has also yielded some visible outcomes, as pointed out by you, Honorable Advisor Saab. And we are now in receipt of or discussing 11 new REIT schemes, and 7 new companies have applied for the REIT management license. These regulations have also opened access to private capital for infrastructure finance needs of the country through introducing of the PPP structure within the umbrella of the REITs. In this regard, I'm extremely pleased to report, sir, that we are already guiding a provincial finance department and 2 municipal corporations with regard to their infrastructure needs through the REIT structure. On similar lines, numerous improvements have been introduced in the company incorporation process, and the process now is pretty much end-to-end digitalized. It has been integrated with numerous other provincial and federal government bodies, and this has also enabled the growth capital needed by some of the startups. These facilitative measures have resulted in achieving an impressive growth of over 50% in new incorporation in 2020-21. This is the highest growth of incorporation that has ever been witnessed. And to elaborate the point further, of the total 146,000 companies registered with SCCP today, 30% were registered in the last 2 years alone. Now, coming back to the GEM board, I'm also pleased to note that a second GEM subscription has already closed successfully since the launch of Pak Agro Packaging. It is my strong belief that companies would benefit from this platform and eventually transition to the main board. Taking advantage of your worthy presence, Advisor Saab, I would also echo some of the thoughts that you mentioned and some of the points that Farooq made for your kind consideration, and I know that you're already looking in these areas very actively. Foremostly, sir, the success of the power holding Sukuk through the book building at PSX has clearly demonstrated that public sector companies can raise very large amounts at the stock exchange and at a cost which is lower than what they would have gotten if they had just merely relied on the banking sector. Secondly, for those listing on the GEM board, some relief in tax laws related to their past and for the immediate future must also be considered to encourage them to enter the documented economy without any fear of reprisals or opening of their cases of the past. Finally, sir, a creation of sizable fund, which I know is again very close to your heart, for early startup stage of financing of startups that helps them grow and get listed at the GEM board can be considered. In this regard, another important matter is the tax neutrality that must be provided to private equity and venture capital funds on a pass-through basis in line with international global practices. In the end, sir, I assure you that with your guidance, support, SCCP will continue to play its role as an enabler of growth for the capital markets in close liaison with all the stakeholders. Thank you very much, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, potential and existing investors, Assalamu alaikum. I am really doubly delighted today because the first GEM board listing is being achieved by my team, and the reason why I'm doubly delighted is that my peers and my friends, brokerage fraternity, will bring a lot of nice and good companies to this board. But the very first company, Pak Agro, and the very first book runner and advisor, this position will continue to be held by AKD Securities, and we will continue to, inshallah, feel pride about it. I'll also update and to the ones who were there at the first listing which we achieved via book building way back in 2009, which was also achieved by AKD Securities and my team here. And sir, the journey is not stopping here. I'm just going to make a tall claim, and Chairman SCCP may bail me out. Sir, when we started off with this SPAC discussion, you may remember and recall that 2 years back, we started this dialogue of the SPAC, and I'm really happy and delighted to report that the first company, AKD SPAC Limited, has been incorporated, and we inshallah will be bringing that SPAC company to this worthy exchange as well. I've been asked to give some comments as to the journey of this GEM board listing, sir. Sir, for us the issue was a tricky one. We wanted to bring the first company to be such that it should have some facade, some real assets which the investors want here, and some part of technology or a sponsor of the company should be such that they should be respected and known to the fraternity here. And it took us a while, and we are happy that Dr. Safdar Bhatt, who couldn't make it today because he had to rush to UK for his personal commitment, we got hold of somebody who was not only a professor but also a practitioner, and Pak Agro has been in existence for about 20 years, has done wonderfully well. So bringing that first company to the board, we thought that it will give more confidence to the others who are to join and come here at this exchange. I remember and recall Raida, I'm missing, she's here, but not doing the master of the ceremony things today. She is under the weather, I believe, or under dengue, I believe. Yes, I remember that it has taken a long time for this first company to be listed, and a lot of hard work has really gone into. And sir, first of the foremost important thing people ask and keep asking the advisors like us and my friends sitting here, that if we are to be disciplined, as we will be having fiduciary capacity on our head, that now we take funds from outsiders, my peers, will they not really kick me out of the business? Because if I am disciplined and my competitor is not disciplined, and disciplined I'm just using as a code word. So Farooq Saab and the other chairman SCCP rightly pointed out that some sort of hand-holding is really required for the ones who really muster up courage and present themselves to this PSX Jam board. One second practical aspect that we felt, and for the benefit of the others who are to really come to this Jam board, is the fact that the requirement of net asset is somewhat cumbersome for brokerage community. See, assets they can see. If a customer has a 5 million or beyond investment with a brokerage house, he can say that it's an accredited or a qualified investor. But the word net really sometimes the brokerage community is not really comfortable with. So when it comes to net, it requires all the more details, because if I am having some 7,000 clients who have a portfolio with me of 10 or 20 million and above, for me to really tick that box is very easy. But asking, well, how did you really get this 10 million? Or, by the way, the requirement is 5 million. So if it is only investments, it will really take away a lot of burden on the shoulders of the brokerage community. Lastly, sir, Dr. Saab could not make it, I have really mentioned, because it's a momentous occasion for him and his company. But I'm sure he'll reap the benefits, and the investors will reap the benefits of coming to this board. I think this, as sir, you rightly pointed out, that SME plays a vital role in the backbone, as it's the backbone of the economy. I hope the small and medium-sized companies will be able to transform themselves into large conglomerates, and with the help of this platform, a lot more companies will really they will come to this momentous and this building and this exchange. Lastly, let me conclude with a good note. And the good news is that we and my friends of representing different brokerage houses here, we have a large line of
working on learning the lessons. Second thing that I wanted to make sure you know is that we are in the process of setting up a board technology and digitization committee which will steer the reforms of the technology beyond the national trading and surveillance system. There's a lot of statutory work that the board does, which you know in detail. I'm not going to dwell too much on, but one of the areas which you touched upon is, the PSX future lies in trying to help companies raise capital or debt, and on the other hand, bringing really the investors on the table. So all our different committees are helping out to navigate this process, because we all know Pakistan is a country which has massive population, young population, smart, educated people. We just need to bring in phenomenal governance at PSX, which will amplify and bring in a lot of confidence to the investors when they come to this platform, that it will be open, transparent, efficient. So with these little few remarks, I'd like to thank both of you for your leadership, sitting in Islamabad and communicating with us. I'd like to thank the board of PSX for working, and most of all, I'd like to thank the PSX leadership, the CEO, as well as all the staff who have been working incredibly hard. And we count on all the asset management companies and the brokers to be able to help us really bring more business to PSX. Thank you so much for being